All systems go. Clear for liftoff. What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, aka ToeTagginTambo, back for another edition of the First Look Show here on the SHIPIT Nation YouTube station. And I'll start there. We had another great week over at SHIPIT Nation, but I do have the YouTube up, so we'll get all this stuff out of the way quickly. Do have some minor announcements, some contests, some giveaways, some stuff like that. We will get to the first look. As always, did not cheat this week. I had people in the DMs. We had the Discord popping, people trying to give away all the secrets, but I did not get to it yet, so I saved it for the end. But real quick, about to hit that 6,000 subscribers on YouTube. So if you're just joining us, subscribe to the channel, hit the like on this video. It does help us out a ton there. When we get to 6,000, we are going to be giving away a annual PGA pass. So the $299 annual pass, we will be giving away to a random person who has not been a member or is not a member yet at SHIPIT Nation once we get to 6,000. So if you're on this video, hit the like, subscribe to the channel. Do want to talk about this real quick off the top. Mayo announced earlier his new sponsor with Underdog, so there's no more Mayo Listener League. There is no more Fantasy Golf Degenerates Listener League on DraftKings due to that fact. So more on that this evening when Kenny and myself record Fantasy Golf Degenerates. But before I bring Hoop in, I do want to announce quickly that we have the SHIPIT Nation Listener League. Still going to be giving that out to us. It's the reduced rate. Already started it at $1,000 this week. It's the standard $5 3 max, $500 to first, $50 to 10th. $10 min cash, somewhere around 17% paid. And then the link is right there. You guys can go and join that. Remember, the faster we fill it, the bigger it gets. If you want them to hashtag make it bigger, definitely got to go over there and get into that league. Hoopster, I'll bring you in, man. I got some screenshots here. You're in a couple of them, but it was the Nick and Matt show for us this week. We'll get into that. But you had another run at the big 555. How you doing, my friend?
Yeah, another week that was very solid from a content perspective, and then lineup perspective. And in the end of the week, it turned out to be pretty good. It's been a nice little heater here between MMA and PGA for your boy. I mean, just continue to get the job done. It feels good. It's nice to start out the year like this, but the job's not done. We got to keep working, keep grinding, getting better. This week, again, in the 555, I was live all week. I had two teams up there. Fell a little short, finished fourth for 30,000. Our guy, Matt, finished third for 40,000. Would have liked to get that 1-2 finish, but the 3-4 finish, we'll take it. The $70,000 total. Our guy, LSU Nick, printed on Showdown, had a big main slate win as well. The community just has been phenomenal. And, for me personally, I kind of talked about it. I kind of switched up my strategy a little bit 5-6 weeks ago. You and I had off-air conversations. We had conversations in Discord. And I started focusing more on 15 to 20 teams and have had a lot of success. We did a video on Wednesday night with a group of guys in our Discord, and I kind of talked through the strategy on how I'm building these teams and what I'm doing. And, if you're a member, don't hesitate to reach out. If you're someone that kind of focuses on, 20 max teams, I'm there to help at any point. But I've kind of found a nice little groove here and looking to keep it going. And this week is nice. The API, we got all the big boys in it. So looking forward to kind of diving in and getting the first look underway this week, get the process started.
Yeah, we always start with whoever has the first comment. No surprise, Nick, LSU Nick, first comment. He finished first in almost everything this week, and he said I had 30 minutes to digest it. Okay, on to the API. Bring it up real quick or just some of the run through. Our guy Matt won the round 3 flagship. And then Nick won the $5. Speaking of Nick that we just talked about, there won for $5,000 in the $5 version in round 3. It continued, both of them. Matt had a great finish, as Hoop just mentioned, third in that 555. A bunch of good Showdown round 4 contests. And then LSU Nick, our guy Nick, who's in the chat there, $100 single entry winner shipper as well. Others, Ranger in Showdown, 5K up top. Ranger 13, Crack Drafter, 5K up top in Showdown. Bambino, I think it's Bambino 33. Had another one in Showdown, 5K. It just continuously, myself, Jay Hold, a couple big satellite tickets. So I'll be playing in that 47-47 this week for the API. It's only about 235 people or so. Really excited for that one. An awesome payout structure you check it out on there. Two Hearted finished second and third for over $3,500. Codog, DFS, Jeff. These are just big ROI weeks, almost $2,000 plus for each of them on 75, 180, like much lower buy-in. So as we always say, the time to join the nation is today, and you can still use the code HOOP15 to get 15% off any of those memberships. If you just go over to the site, click PGA here, take it over. You can get it to all access. I highly recommend it, but if you are just looking at this for PGA, want to get in on just PGA alone, you can take this down to work out to about $5 per event, and it will lock in. You can take this one down monthly to just around $1 a day. So I do want to note that. And then lastly, this is some of the stuff. You guys didn't see it. We did this on all the Showdown shows this week, but shout out to our guy, Degenerate75. All of our thoughts and prayers still with James, hoping to get an update this week. Keep you guys updated on how that goes, but we're all still thinking about James out there. But his tool, the Stone, that we used to call the Rosetta Stone, brought it over to the site. It's been phenomenal. Just the littlest things like you can find and go down. This was an example. I played some Peter Malnati in round 4. He ended up having like a 4-under bogey-free round. And you can see here the ceiling projection, much more solid than others around him. His approach, but his true approach was really strong. The regression was sort of in his favor, as well as on the round 4 stuff wasn't the worst considering guys down here. So just little things that you can find within the Stone, but having it all in one place, neat and tidy like this is the way to go. Hoop, anything else you want to add before we get to the rest of this and hop into the first look?
No, I mean, congratulations to all the winners. I mean, the community aspect here is large, man. It's big. It's one of the most important things that we do. And it's just a good feeling when you know that people have your back, people are there willing to help. And, it's kind of what we're all about. Love seeing the members win, and they just continue to do a phenomenal job, and not just, picks and plays. Like, they're improving their process, and that's what it's all about. We don't want you to come to us and say, oh, should I play this guy, this versus that guy, the 2v2s, 3v3s? Yes, we'll help you along the way if you have those questions. But at the end of the day, we want you to become a better player. And that's what we're starting to see in our community. And it's really rewarding. So again, we're just getting started over here. The momentum continues to build, and we're not slowing down anytime soon.
Yeah, and we'll get to it here. Just one last thing I do want to bring up. We got a couple new logos. So not asking everybody to switch, but we are going to have a little contest around this. Some people wanted the inverted colors of these ones, so we added them. So we're going to have a little fun with it. We always do stuff if people have the logos. We do contests in the Discord. We do a ton with the community and giveaways. We've given well over the 10K away that we originally said off the top. We still have the founding family free roll at the end of the year for another 3,000 to 5,000. We're going to have a bunch more giveaways that are happening. Hoop's giving away more tickets. He had 2 left to give out that he carried over through the weekend. So he'll announce those in the Discord after everybody that signed up. But we're going to do another fun one. So these last 2 logos, the inverted color ones, if you switch to one of these, anybody can do it. You don't even need to be a member. Run the logo, save it, upload it, #ShipIt. Either of these 2 new logos, we're going to give $250 cash to the first person that wins a GPP at the API or beyond and tags us on Twitter at ShipItNation. So if you go over here, I had it up just a second ago. Another spot, if you look at ShipItNation up here, almost to 5,000 now. We're at 4,700 followers there. Going to keep growing there as well. So do that. Go grab the logo. When you go to the page, it's just shipitnation.com. The 3 little dots, drop it down and click logos and pick one of those 2 new logos, pop them up. Going to give away the $250 cash to the first person to win a GPP with it and tag us. We're going to do some giveaways for others that are rocking the logo, but just wanted to note that on the new ones. Hoop, let's dive in. Let's talk API. Arnold Palmer Invitational. We got it in under 9 minutes, by the way, guys. So marketing is out of the way you love it. But let's talk about this one, Hoop. We got the API, as our guy DGen would say, noise when it comes to the amount of guys in the field, 69. So it was 70. Finau is not going to play this week, so it's going to be 69 guys in the field playing this event, a big boy event. They're doing it the same way as last time, where I know us included, many others said, what did we say? We said, it's almost a no-cut event. Well, that was not the story. A lot of guys missed the cut, at that event versus what could. It's like top 50 plus ties, and then anybody within 10. Well, that got out of hand quickly, and I think like 17 missed or something along those lines. But talk to me a little bit about this event, and then I already see up top here, we're spoiling it now. We're to the pricing, but looks like Scotty Scheffler is going to be the most expensive. I will spoil this part just to see. Yeah,
That's
no.
a bummer. That's a
David
bummer.
Ford we'll get to, but smaller field, so it kind of makes sense to still keep it this way. But go ahead, give us your thoughts. Big boy event.
So yeah, just to be clear, is this a no cut event?
No, just top 50 and ties.
It's the same thing.
Same
So
deal.
is that the standard then for these signature events or what?
I think it's like just because people complained, but it could end up working out similar this time. It might not. It might go back to like last time, but definitely, like you said, earn your check, boys. Yeah, we like it. It's better than nothing. I'll take it for sure.
Yeah. So it's what, top 50 and then within 10 strokes?
Top 50 and ties and within 10 strokes. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I mean, a lot of guys or more guys got cut than we anticipated last time, but I think you still almost have to play it as if it's a no-cut event. I mean, it's gonna, at least 80% of this field most likely makes it through. When you're building your teams, I think that's the mindset that you have to have. You kind of are going to have to be a little bit aggressive when you build these teams. So that's just the first thing that definitely stands out. It's a little bit of a bummer that the 5K is gone. I mean, hopefully for the larger field events, we see it come back. I think there's not necessarily an edge to it, but a different degree of strategy when you incorporate that pricing tier. Scotty at 11.3 is, I mean, it's probably too light. I mean, it's just, I think he should be more expensive. We'll see when we break it all down. I'm imagining that he's going to be pretty popular this week. You plugged it in right there. When you put him in, you still have 7,700 per spot. You can build all-star teams with Scotty if you play one cheap dude, which there's going to be cheap guys down there that we can play. So I definitely like the standard to be like, I don't care what they do in the bottom range. I prefer the 5K. The standard for these top end guys should be like 12K. 11.3 to me is too cheap. He's too good. He's the best right now. And, I want a lot of him. Are we going to talk about the other guys in the 10 or how do you want to handle it?
Just wanted to get your intro and surprise. Hoop likes the 5K range where he's won like $250,000 since they brought that out. So yeah, I'm sure you would.
Shocker. Yeah.
Just wanted to go back and look real quick too. I'll share it because our friends over at LineStar, they got the perfect lineup. And I wanted to say one thing because that was the note. Again, forget the optimal was actually 47.7 or whatever. We're not building based around that. But again, 5K just not needed. And even some of these, like this was 675. We saw, what was your score up top there? Like
mine was 640.
540.
Sorry. Gave myself way too much credit.
I'm not cutting your score off or trying to talk down. I'm saying, like, obviously any of these guys could have got swapped up to someone at 90 points or something and use up the salary and then again not needed. So the one thing I do want to comment on, just because I thought you brought it up, and it was an interesting piece just off the top into these no-cut events. These cut events that you want to treat like no-cut events, is I think that's one thing people get so wrapped up in and confused upon. Like, you're saying it in a good way. I'm not disagreeing. It's that you need the best 6 guys. And that's the obvious, and everyone knows that, well, obviously you need the best 6. I'm saying that it's like people decide, let the pricing decide it for them. And they're like, well, as long as I get this cheap guy, it means I get Scotty, and then I'm set because Scotty's going to crush. But then you need Scotty to do his job still, and anything can happen in a golf tournament. Just ask Rory McIlroy. We've seen that lately. Scotty Scheffler, some of the guys like Finau in some of these. And I'm not saying which ones are which or comparing them against each other for who's overrated or who's underrated or their legacy. I don't care. I care about DFS for this week. And if you think you're looking at it and you're checking your 2v2s and it's Scotty Scheffler and David Ford, or it's a couple guys, what are they, 11, 17, 18, and it's Sam Burns and Max Homa, that is a decision. You should be looking at these things when you're building your lineups out and seeing what that means for you and how it goes overall. Start modeling it out or see what you see happening in the actual event, what you're more comfortable with, the type of tournament you're playing in, the buy-in, the field strength, the field size, all of these factors that you should be considering. But I'll kick it back to you, Hoop. You can take over now. Let's do 9,500 and up. Let's do Ludwig up to Scotty Scheffler and talk me through, because these are 6 really good golfers here. A lot of decisions to be made, but I think Scotty and Rory should stay pretty popular, especially after Rory's week last week. Just couldn't find a putter.
Yeah. I mean, Scotty, everyone's going to like Scotty, obviously. And it's easy to play him coming in at 11.3, which in my opinion is too cheap of a price tag. People will play this like a no-cut event, and I think you kind of should, obviously. So they're going to feel more comfortable coming in the 6K range, and we'll get down there and look at the guys and the options in that range. But Scotty at 11.3 should get a lot of ownership. Now, the one thing that could keep Rory in check is certainly his recent play. It has not been great. I mean, this past week kind of got close on Saturday. Then I believe it was like a double or was it a double bogey? And he never really got it going, like you said, with the putter. But prior to that, nothing special. I mean, he 24th at the Genesis. He was terrible at the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro. And I'm curious to see what the initial ownership numbers are on him, because again, his recent play could keep the ownership in check. And if you're going to be on Rory and you like him because the course history and all that stuff this week, maybe we get him or not necessarily weeks. I'm not committed to playing Rory at this point. I don't know. I don't think he's fully right. So maybe you get him at a lower rate because of how poorly he's played recently, and what the expectations are at that price tag. At these big boy price tags, they got to do something. It's got to be a top 10-ish most likely, and he just has not been there. So I think there's a chance Rory's ownership could potentially be in check. We'll see when we get some of these initial numbers. You got Cantlay at 10K. I think a lot of people are going to view like Cantlay, Hovland, Xander very similarly. I'm guessing those three kind of come in with similar ownership. Maybe Hovland a little less than the other two, just because he hasn't played all that great. He hasn't had a really high-end finish as of late. So maybe he comes in a little bit lower than Cantlay and Xander, but they're all separated by $100. I think people view these three guys pretty similarly in terms of what their upside is. I mean, I think people look at Cantlay and Hovland and Xander and say, okay, yeah, I could, I kind of view these guys the same sort of golfers. And then, Aubert right there with those guys. Like, I know people are going to want to play him. I want to be on him. I've, kind of said I'm going to be on this guy almost every single week moving forward, or every week moving forward this season, just because I think there's a lot of upside with him. So him checking in at 95, it's $300 cheaper than that other range, but I think he probably has similar ownership. I think after Scotty, we could see a lot of guys come in with similar ownership, and Cantlay, Hovland, Xander, Aubert, and then the Rory thing. It's kind of hard for me to peg at this point in terms of ownership, but man, there's no denying it. I mean, these are the most expensive guys in the field, and for a reason. They have the most win upside, and there's no doubt about it. So, we'll obviously have more in-depth analysis on this tier and the other tiers as the week goes on, and we'll really start to dig in. But for me, the one thing that stands out is Scotty is in a tier of his own, and it should be pretty easy to play him this week. Rory, we got to see what happens. Are people going to, punish him in terms of ownership this week because of how poorly he's been playing lately? And then the next group of guys, I think, end up all pretty similarly owned.
Yeah, put a quick caveat on this because our guy Billy came in with the clutch information. Yeah, encouraging you to play round one showdown. I'll add another $100 to it. Let's do if it's $2,000 or more is the caveat. That's $100.
Point. Yeah, it took me a second to figure out what's going on there, but yeah, that's a good point.
It is. If it's $2,000 or more, get $100. If it's $5,000 or more, we'll do the $250. So go from there, and then we can look at bringing it from that one. But we'll refer back to this. We're pretty honest guys, pretty comfortable with just doing whatever makes sense. But yeah, good call. Put a little caveat on it. Shout out to Greg, says smash the like. Do us that favor. If you're just joining us now, smash the like. Remember to subscribe to the channel, giving away a $299 annual PGA pass as soon as we hit 6,000 subscribers on YouTube. Congrats to Mark, 8th in the $12 single entry. Time to ship it at the API. That sounds like a good idea. Sean's out there. Shout out to Sean. Says Hovland Best Buy pricing looks nice. So lots of stuff going on here, but let's have a quick look. And was it too? Oh yeah, our guy Rin, of course, he's in here. Had to let us know. EVR, Mr. Optimal from Nick. Let him know.
Every path here just ends up to EVR. I mean, you just can't avoid it. I mean, just can't. Yeah. There's earlier comments on EVR by the usual suspect. I mean, he's immediately EVR. Mm-hmm. Is he in this week?
I know EVR? He got into the field now. He's in the field now. Yeah, right? We haven't got there. Yeah.
Huh, okay. Interesting.
But let's see. We just started the contest too, Nick. So that, those are custom avatars. You got them. I want everybody to keep repping those. It's just a little bit of
you got enough money now. You don't need to worry about the extra $250. You
don't need our $100, Nick. Come on. So I'm with you here. I think it looks pretty obvious early on that it's just going to be Cantlay and Xander that go overlooked. I think people can still talk themselves in easily to Hovland. I know Ludwig always gets love, and especially with being the lowest price of this, what I'm calling a tier. I don't think people view this like the three guys up top. Maybe you could say they view it as two guys, and then what's the drop-off? But even if you viewed it as that, you're still going to get ownership on both of these guys. Rory led the field in tee to green last week. He's always putted better on these greens. People are going to be very comfortable going to him. His history is incredible. Scotty obviously has great history as well. So I think both of them get a little bit spread out. But down here, it's going to be Hovland and Ludwig that are getting the ownership. So I think you nailed that.
You think it's Hovland over those other guys? Honestly, I kind of had a different opinion, but again, I don't think it's going to be a massive difference by any means. But I figured more people will go to Cantlay and Xander over Hovland.
Well, Hovland also 10th and 2nd here the last 2 years. People always treat him like mini Rory. So when you're getting him for $700 cheaper, but I think, again, there's lots of stuff you can see here. Look at this lineup. Right out of the gates is around 7.4, and you only need to pick 4 golfers. Scotty's 7.7 with, you got to come up with 5 more. Same thing if you go Hovland, Ludwig, right? 7.7, exact same as Scotty. You go Ludwig and Rory, and you leave Hovland and those 3 out. I mean, definitely possible that it goes these 2 at the top, Ludwig, and then back to Hovland and those other 2. I just don't think you could see Cantlay and X be as popular with the other names that are around, and we'll see how it shakes out when we get to Wednesday, get our final thoughts in. But that's a note as well. We talked about it last week, but if you guys did miss it, we'll let you know now. 2:30 Eastern time here on Wednesday. We'll be back, Hoop and myself. I'll be in studio with Mayo on Wednesday doing that show. And then from there, we'll have the round 2, round 3, round 4 shows for Showdown as well. But yeah, that's all I really got up top, Hoop. Not much more. I want to keep moving through this, see what we got. Let's go the remainder of the 9K range down to just what fits on the screen. Let's go off of this. We got Spieth down to Cam Young at 8,700. Let's just stick to it and talk through some of these guys.
Well, I'm assuming Spieth has played here a lot. Do you have anything on the course history? Has he played well? Because, the initial thought.
The last 2 times. Yeah, he's played it twice, okay. 4th both times. And last year he had a chance. I think he blew it on Saturday, but just to remind, in the back of my mind, that's what I remember.
Yeah, so 9-4. I don't know, man. Like, Spieth is another guy. It's kind of hard to peg in terms of what people do. Got a lot of heavy hitters right above him, and you got a lot of, I think, solid plays below him. That's something to kind of monitor a little bit. But you got Sam Burns playing really well. Homa, I think, is kind of a wild card this week. I mean, he hasn't been playing great lately. He finished 16th at the Genesis. But that was mostly like one solid round. The second round really didn't do much else. Morikawa and Thomas, I think, definitely get the ownership in this range. People love playing Morikawa, and people are just, I think, in on JT this season. And we were, at least for me personally, coming into the season, I thought he'd have a turnaround, and I've been on him a lot as well. I'm going to stay on him at 9K. Sucked last week or his last time out at the Genesis, but prior to that, playing really, really well. I'll go back to JT here, but I think out of everyone in this range, Morikawa and JT are going to be the ones that people want to go to. Zalatoris, we talked about it at the last event at the Genesis. We thought it was a great time to get on board with him, and he did not disappoint. Finished 2nd there. I'm going to stay on him. Like, he's a guy that can easily be in the upper 9s when everything's right, and I think he's close to being 100% right. And then, Fleetwood, Cam Young. I don't know, not many initial thoughts on Fleetwood, but with Cam Young kind of rounding the corner, he was solid this week. That's 3 straight solid finishes for him. This is a course I think sets up pretty well for him. He kind of stands out to me at 8,700. So I don't know. I don't have a strong read on like Spieth, Burns, Homa in terms of what people will do. I know people will be on Morikawa and Thomas. I think it's just like a weekly thing. People love them. They're in the low 9s. They're not in the upper 9s. It looks like a good price tag. Zalatoris, after that T2, have to imagine people stick with him. And then Cam Young's been playing really well for 3 straight weeks. Have to imagine he gets looked up here at just 8,700, which is just a little bit more than the average roster spot. So a lot of different builds a guy like Cam Young can fit in. So just my initial thoughts here in this range.
Yeah, speaking of go course history, I know he got DQ'd last time, so I don't know if that's in the back of people's mind, but obviously history here, the last 2 times, he's only been 4th and 4th. So I could go with him. Homa is an interesting one because most people say play Homa on Homa courses, but this one here, it's like a 17th, a 14th, and a 10th in the last 3 years. So it's not really that far off, and he's 9,200, but because he's got Spieth, Burns, Morikawa, JT, and then you've got guys like Zalatoris and Young cheaper than him, maybe he gets a little bit overlooked. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
It is tough just to add on to like that point. Like it's going to be hard to make cuts on these guys when you go through and start, building out your player pool. I mean, there is so far everyone we've talked about, you can make a strong case as to why you should be on them this week. There's not many cases against some of these guys in terms of why you should be off them. So that's one thing that makes me believe the ownership from top to, from Scotty to Cam Young probably ends up getting pretty spread out. People are going to want to be on these guys, and there's a lot more cases to play these guys opposed to being off them. So I think we end up seeing a lot of spread out ownership in this range.
And then it depends what you want to do for a quick construction look. Just while we're still in the same range, I've been trying to do it within the ranges we're talking about, but you're seeing it again here. Like this is now you can get 3 guys, including Iceberg up top. We'll go back to that and just see it. And now you're still getting almost the same value left, but you only have to fill 3 spots now. So it's like, again, you can make some really nice lineups. The pricing setup so far solid. And I'm sure we're going to see like everybody in this field is solid. I know from the list, I haven't seen all the pricing yet, but just to note that real quick, I will answer Nick's question because we had a couple on it here, but no, first of all, the question is, will we have Puerto Rico content? We won't. We can talk about it in the Discord, whatever people want, but like DraftKings won't even post the contest. They're still not up. And when they do, they're going to be horrible. It's going to be X amount to first and pennies to fifth. So no, it's not going to be a focus. There's huge money to be won at API, a ton of strategy still, lots of fun in doing the API stuff. So we're always going to stick to what's featured. So definitely doing that. Let's see here. Zalatoris, look back. Cam Young has just been up and down, but it's been consistent of that. So I don't know if, you think like that, 3rd, 8th, and a 4th in 3 of his last 5, but he's been 10th and 13th here. So I think he could hold some steam and right now have no problem with him. We'll see where he ends up. Let's keep going. Let's go into this next range. Fitzpatrick down to Henley rounds out the 8K range, Hoop. So what are you doing with these guys in here?
Yeah, it actually kind of works out well because I think, starting from Fitzpatrick might be kind of included in that group above, but this is where people can start saying, all right, I can make some cuts in this range. Like I feel comfortable fading some of these guys here opposed to the range above, but Fitzpatrick did look pretty good. I don't know exactly where he finished last week. He finished
21st.
Yeah, 21st. So it's not fully back, but now he's only like 8,600. Last week he was like 10-6. So I don't know. I don't necessarily. And he did he win here? Or did he contend here? Or am I making that up?
Insane here though. 14th, 9th, 10th, 9th, 2nd.
Yeah. So you can kind of include him in that group above where you're just going to find more cases to play him against fading. But the drop off kind of starts here. Wyndham Clark has not been great. I think people will be fine being off him. Hideki coming off the win. What do people do with that? 8,400. It's a fair price for him. You can definitely make the case here for him, but like Tom Kim, I think people would be comfortable not playing. Jason Day is an easy fade for a lot of people. Thigala, the case with him. It's always up and down performances, but he's a guy for some reason that people always play. His ownership always comes in higher than anticipated. He's a guy I don't think I necessarily have to play. Your boy Sungjae, man. Something is just not right at this point. It's just another bad performance for him. Last week missed the cut, and that's follows up a 44th at the Genesis, 66th at the Waste Management, and then 66 at the AT&T Pebble Beach. Like he's been a disaster. And then like Russell Henley at 8K flat. I don't know if this is necessarily the track for him. Like the long setup here, I could see him potentially struggling. So this range, I think, is where people view it as a drop-off. Ownership overall probably comes in a lot lower here than the ownership in the group that we just previously talked about. So that's my initial thoughts in this range.
Yeah, one hope, I guess, or maybe it ends up just being that it's both of them, but with Zal and Fitzpatrick, and I guess I was just hoping maybe you could keep a little bit off Cam Young there if people are worried about sort of the volatility with him, which I don't mind taking on, especially like you said, just the caliber player we have. And if it is kind of more like that setup where you said play it like a no cut, I would have no problem just getting him for the 8,700. Hope he scores, makes the cut of that large number of guys getting through it, and then gets a spike round in there somewhere, or maybe multiples. So I wouldn't hate that, but I like that thought up top. I guess the guys I would take chances on down low, Jason Day for sure still has some stuff to him there. Like you go back and look, I think it was 10th last time out. I just had it up and then I got a different idea in my head. No, 6th and 9th, the last two. Yeah, 10th last time he played here. So I'm fine with Jason Day. Thigala, you know what you're getting. Boom bust. But Sungjae is going to be the tough one, man. Like, I don't think I can hop off now. If you've been on Sungjae, I think you have to stay on him at least here, because if you look, this was one of the things. 2, 1, shout out to our guy, OG John. He was at the event all week updating the Discord a ton. So appreciate that from him. But he was saying that as soon as Sungjae missed the cut, as you would expect, but right to the range, working on those irons again, getting his shit back together. And if you look at his results here, third, 21st, 20th, 21st, he's priced at 8K. He's less than average price.
I mean, I like getting that information, but that kind of reminds me of like going into NFL training camp. So-and-so is in the best shape of his life, like coming into training camp. Like, no shit, all these guys most likely are. So, I mean,
well, he's not in good shape right now. He's playing horrible. I'm saying that if you were
but I'm saying that analogy where he's like my point is like a lot of these guys that are playing bad, they do typically go to the range and try to fix their stuff at the end.
I'm saying more the second part. And I think it's just, again, thinking from a DFS perspective, if you're out there and you've been playing Sungjae Im, how many times, I'm sure you're out there, and this is you, where you...
Well, now I'm in that group because your ass doing these shows with you. You always wrote me in along, so now I'm along for the ride. So now I might have to be in with you.
A relevant example, though. So here's what happened. People play the same guy. It could be anybody. I'm using him for me. But they play the same guy. The minute they hop off, that guy has a great week. And they just said, oh, of course, because I hopped off him. But my take is if you haven't been on him, probably stay off him. It has not been good. Like Hoop said, even before the miscut, it's been bad. You can try the zig when they say, like, I've been off him, so now I can hop on him. I'm saying more of it's not the time to hop off when a guy gets to a course that he's absolutely done fine at, especially for an 8K price tag. That's how it always happens in golf. Somebody eventually bounces back. So I'm going to be back in on Sungjae. How much? I don't know. I'm just saying I wouldn't leave him out. I actually agree with you on the Henley side of things. While it is still Florida and Bermuda and all that stuff, just probably not the best course, and the history bears out. So I used Sungjae for the example. They know it. We need the intervention. They know all about it, please. But
I tried last year, and then I ended up giving in, and I joined the M side. So I guess I got to play him too this week.
But didn't we play his ass at 9,700 last week? How much was he last week?
Yeah, he's like 96, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, we're down to 8K, guys. Come on, let's keep it rolling. So we'll move on. Let's go to this upper 7K range hoop. JT Poston let a lot of people down overall. I mean, he got through, but not much. But now he's down to 7,900. Mathieu Pavon, someone said, Wooly, right there on cue, is a stud. Keeps crushing it. Your boy Kirky, I don't know if he ended up, should he have ended up a keep or a cut? Because it started out very strong, fell off from there, but you got Connors, Siwoo, Knapp, keeps playing well. Benny Ann, Harmon, what are you doing in this upper 7K range?
Yeah, I'm going to kind of apply a little bit of your logic to the Pavon thing. Like, if you've been playing the guy, I think you just got to stay on him. I mean, I've been playing him, so I will be staying on him at 7,900. The results have been absolutely phenomenal. 7th at the Sony, 39th at the American Express, and then won the Farmers, 3rd at the AT&T Pebble Beach. And I mean, I know he made a double on the last hole this week, which probably cost me a lot of money, but he was right there again, close to the top 10. I don't know exactly where he finished. He finished, where the hell was he? Oh, 28th. So that double actually cost him a lot, but 28th is fine. So I'm in on Pavon, Chris Kirky, Connors, I think strike me as plays. The Jake Knapp thing's interesting. You have to imagine he gets quite a bit of ownership, probably the highest owned in this range, maybe just because of how well he's been playing. He finished strong this week, 7,600. It's a long course. I imagine people just want to go right back to him. Benny On with a strong finish. I think he shot 500 or 600 in round 4 to kind of move his way up the leaderboard. Lowry, Adam Scott. Lowry looked like shit today in easy conditions. That's another guy that cost me a lot of money down the stretch. And then what do people do with Eric Cole? At 7,400, Adam Scott 7,500. I mean, there's a lot of guys that you want to play in this range, a lot of names that look appealing. The more we kind of talk about this, I think that tier that we just spoke of in the 8K range probably goes mostly overlooked. I think a lot of people are going to go with those builds that you've been plugging in along the way here that leave you with like $7,700 or $7,600. You can come down here and you could finish out your lineups here in those builds without having to go lower and take the chance on some of those other dudes. I think a lot of people do come into this 7-ish K range. I just realized I went below Benny On, but again, there's a lot of names here that people are going to be interested in. So I think those builds that you kind of lined up, throughout the show here end up probably being pretty true in terms of what people end up doing. And that leads me to believe that 8K range will probably go a little overlooked.
Yeah, you can't spell Knapp without APP. The approach has been solid, and you go look at it. He did it again this past week, even better in round 4 than anything. So He's down at 7,600. Let's talk about form coming in. That's what this course really is. So, I mean, this to me, this zone is like Pavon has been solid. Kirky does okay. Connors, Knapp. And then if you want to take the volatile shot here, it's Siwoo probably. But again, just that you know what you're getting with Siwoo. You're going to have an up and down. What's sort of his thing been here? I just want to go pull it up. Also, we'll get to it, I guess, in a second. But I just remembered about a pricing that we haven't seen yet. Siwoo Kim, before the 44th, was 12th, 14th, 25th. Had a 25th before that. He's got 26th and 39th here last couple years. So I don't know. And Nick's right away says, Knapp's going to let some people down. He has to fall off at some point. He looks good, man, right now. And sometimes you just got to keep rolling with it. He sets up for this course. And again, the pricing keeps staying down. So that was what it was last week. He actually ended up getting a little cheaper. We said you continue to play the guy after a win when his price gets cheaper. And that's what it ended up being. And now it's got cheaper again, not off a win, obviously, but he was in the mix. Really nice round 4 to make some more money and hop up there again. So really making the best of it. Now he hops into this one. He can do some damage here. So I would say right now, like Pavon, Connors, probably Knapp, and then C, but that's just early thoughts. And we'll see where the ownership actually ends up going. You talked about some of these guys already. Lowry, man, he fell apart down the stretch there, Lowry.
Yeah, he's right there. I mean, final group and just couldn't get the job done. I mean, do people hold that against him this week? Potentially. I mean, honestly, they could. I mean, the rest of this range, though, Keegan, I think, always tournament worthy. Kitayama, Harris English has been playing relatively solid, 7,300. Had the off year last year, but appears to be bounced back. Hogard, people enjoy playing him. Steven Yeager as well at 72. So again, this is another range that people could feel pretty comfortable with. I will say though, I think a lot more people go to the upper sevens than this range just because the names up there you feel way more comfortable with. But I think there's some good tournament targets in this range.
I'm going to give you one right now that nobody thinks like this. Got to be very contrarian mind. Keegan Bradley will get popular by Wednesday evening because his finishes here the last 3 years, 10th, 11th, and 10th, he'd already be popular. But on Wednesday, Full Swing Season 2 launches on Netflix, and I already know they got a scene with Keegan Bradley where he gets the Ryder Cup call saying he did not make the team. And so people are going to feel bad for his ass and get him in there at just 7,400 plus the course history. It's going to boost his ownership up. So you got to think ahead. You got to know what's going on in the world of pop culture. People are mad that Adam Scott got a sponsor's invite. The guy's like, again, the OWGR is a joke anyway, and people are mad at Neiman making fun of him. He took the bag. He shouldn't say anything. He should say it because it is an absolute joke, but not because the live stuff, just in general. So just throw your shots. I got no problem with Neiman winning again, throwing another shot, but Adam Scott is much better than the OWGR rankings say and all that sort of stuff from his results. I know it doesn't always fully fit in, but he's been fine. So I like Scott here. I like Keegan Bradley. Probably take a shot on some of these guys at the bottom too, just to see how it shakes out, but have to dig in a little bit more. But to your point, Hoop, when you can round out your lineups with some of these guys you mentioned up here, I don't know if it's going to be Corey Connors, but just to say that these are two of the guys that fit that sort of 7,700 average we kept seeing. Yeah. So you're going to see where lineups are going to end right here. So let's keep it moving and see what else we find. But anybody else you wanted to talk about, like Hoagie, Fowler, List, Bezadenhout, before we get to the 6K range?
Hoagie, I do like 7,100. Been playing well, finished out well last week. Bezadenhout had a very interesting week where he got up to tied for the lead and then ended up missing the cut all within the same round, which is absolutely wild. I mean, he was cruising. I think he was 5 or 6 under in round 2, got up, tied for the lead, and then missed the cut. Just phenomenal. I mean, just very interesting stuff. Eckroat, after the win, what do people do? They probably go back to him. Justin Rose really hasn't gotten much going. I think Cam Davis is interesting. And then the ever interesting Mr. EVR at 6,600, playing well. I mean, playing really, really well. I imagine he gets some ownership for sure.
6,600? My God, this is insane. Hadwin, 68. Eckroat off the win, 6,900. Griot. Bez, just one I didn't talk about up there. I guess Bez and where'd the other guy go that I missed earlier? Where was he at? Chris Kirk, when I was up in that 7-8. Those are two guys that just look. So Bez and Chris Kirk. Bez, who you brought up just a second ago, I just had up here. I'm going to pull him back up one more time just so I can say it, was before the missed cut, was obviously playing well. And then he missed the cut here last year, but before that, 20th, 7th, 18th, he's got the stats for it. I mean, definitely.
Who's this?
Bez.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So if you're looking at a flop leg candidate off of disappointment, where, you know, round 1 was still great, it was just round 2 that did nothing, I think you could definitely go back to him. What has Denny done here? I just wanted to see him quickly. He's another name that I didn't expect to see down here. He hasn't done much down here, but before the miscut, he had all those top 25s or whatever. So I guess people would look at that. This is insane, by the way. This one got spoiled by somebody in the chat. I forgot about it.
What the hell?
Minwoo Lee is this going to be 40% in that tournament that I told you about, that heavy irons, the 47-47.
Yeah. I mean, it's got to be the biggest misprice of the year. I mean, maybe within the last year, to be honest with you. Like, this is one of the most egregiously priced golfers in a while.
I don't understand.
He's 50. What is he? 50 to 1 to win the event? No, he's 40 to 1 on DraftKings to win the event. 40 to 1. He has like the 15th.
He's next to Patrick Rogers, man. It's like,
he's got like the 15th best odds to win this event. All right. And he's 6,600. Yeah. I mean, he's going to be popular. There is no doubt about it. And like I said, this is probably one of the biggest misprices in the last year that I can think of. I mean, I can't think of anything this egregiously bad. Yeah. I mean, Scotty, Minwoo Lee. And yeah, if you want to throw in EVR, like those Scotty Minwoo combination is going to be very, very popular. Quick strategy talk. If you want to play Scotty, you want to play Minwoo, you know, depending on how many teams you make, you can just, you know, build opposite way. Play them, but don't play them together, because that combination is going to be very, very popular. What's the dollar amount you're left with if you take EVR out of there? And it's just Scotty and Minwoo. Yeah, 8K. You're 8K. You can load up on legit dudes that can win, legit guys that can win this golf event with Scotty.
Yeah, Minwoo, this is insane. This is absolutely nuts. And like this don't even matter. I don't think he's been way different this last year. So like I did see that too, Billy. I appreciate you throwing it in. I looked it up, but he's just been a way better golfer everywhere in the world that he's played. So it's just a complete misprice. But this is what makes it even more interesting. Now, remember earlier when I was showing like Scotty 7.7, you got to pick 5 guys. Well, now it doesn't hurt nearly as much, because you could literally plug in Minwoo and Iceberg and still be down to 7.5. And now your lineup is substantially better on paper. Again, we don't know what's going to actually happen. That's just like Billy says, we do appreciate it. Just here for the stats, sir. Yes, thank you. That's what it is. It's just to note it for the content. But man, this has to be a pretty popular start. So, you know, other ways, and it's not a big deal. Again, that's back to your strategy piece. Oh, well, then I'll just do it with Rory instead, and I'll be different. No, you're the exact same. Yeah. It's just you got to get different.
Need salary, like that's what people are going to be doing. Like if that's the first name that's going to pop in their head, like, oh man, I want to come down and find a guy to save me some money. Like that's the guy that everyone's clicking on. So any sort of scenario you're in where people are, you know, you want to save money or people need to save money, they're clicking that name above anyone else.
Taylor Benson, Straka, like, man, there is just
and the higher, to your point though, which is very important, the higher stakes you're playing, the higher owned this guy's going to be. In that big 4K contest this week, like you referenced, like, yeah, that's where his ownership is going to be the highest.
Yeah, it's going to get out of hand. I can tell you that. And I mean, maybe it should at 6,600 in an event like this. He's playing incredible, but man, that is just wild for the pricing there. EVR. People think I'm taking shots, like I'm sticking up for Siwoo, and then I'm still taking shots at EVR. But just EVR, I can see like the streakiness of it versus the other. But like even he's been too hot to kind of go away from. So I can definitely see people playing both of them. I can see it end up being not as much of a delta, but I definitely think Minwoo in the higher stakes will have a bit of a reach over Eric Van Rooyen. So do what you will with that and do what you want there. But anybody else in this bottom range, I mean, once it drops to 6K, you get down to like Justin Lower, Valimaki, Shank. I don't know. Do you like Shank? You usually like Shank.
Yeah. I'm in on Shank 62. I mean, he's a guy when he's playing well, like he's scoring and he has a chance to be towards the top of the leaderboard. And he's done it in some of these tougher events too. So definitely interested in him. CT Pan at 6K flat. He'd be my favorite if you're trying to save all the money down there. Adam Svensson, obviously at 64, Nick Taylor at 65. Those would be my favorites below, the EVRs and Minwoos. Nick Taylor, Svensson, Shank, CT Pan, like I kind of mentioned. Those would be the guys I'd look at in the lower sixes without digging super deep. Maybe this Nick Dunlap guy, maybe people are on him, 6,100. Our guy Sammy Valimaki disappointed last week. He's back in here at 62. So I mean, there's definitely playable guys. If you're playing like a no cut event, you might have to come down here a little bit.
Nick Dunlap, Gordon Sargent, who if you remember from the Masters last year, everyone loved him, and then what's his name showed up there, and then you got David Ford, part of that team as well. So we talked about him on the Fantasy Golf Degenerate season preview. But for those that were wondering, David Ford down here at 6K flat, obviously a great talent. I don't know how it'll show up in this event, but man, we've seen some crazier stuff this year. Speaking of his teammate, Nick Dunlap, who got the win earlier this year as an amateur. And then you got, guys like Knapp just showing up and situational stuff there. Webb is on the same board, the PGA player policy board or whatever that Scott is on. And the other guy,
so they just get in? Like I had this question too. How's Webb continuing to get in?
He's in on a sponsor's exemption, but it's what people are complaining about is how are those guys the ones to get the sponsor's exemption. But the argument was like for Adam Scott,
I get
it's
Scott.
not that hard to argue because if you look at Adam Scott's numbers, he's coming in off at 19th and 8th, the 20th, the 7th. He's played here in the past.
Here. I get the Scott thing. It makes a ton of sense. But like Webb Simpson, that's criminal. He's done. Like what? Why? His ass shouldn't be in here.
And then we got to have the quick Stanger conversation at the end. Somebody said earlier, it might have been our guy Billy, who said, right here he is.
Where do I take my victory lap? Is this it?
Sure. What did he end up finishing? I can't even look it up.
Oh no, but it was both our guys were right there. They're in the same vicinity. Your Cootie guy and my Stanger. Let's see.
And it ended up being Bud Colley was the actual.
Oh, Stanger finished 8 under, and where's Cootie?
Oh, beat you by 2. Sorry.
6.
6, yep.
Yeah, he fell apart down the stretch too. That's the other thing. Cootie's last day, 2 over, really bad round. Colley though was up there for quite a while. He finished 10 under. So we had some of those the cheaper guys pegged. Course fit rankings on those too. Some of them. So just to note. But what do you think? I mean, obviously,
disrespected. I'm going to add the most disrespected guy in this field. And I don't think we're not going to get many laughs at this one because I think it's legit. When you come down here, and again, obviously, there's other spots. We're not going to say Minwoo. I'm going to go ahead and type this in right now. And I'll put it up on the screen. It's Mr. Adam Schenk. He shouldn't be 62. He's legit. He's our guy. He's going to get the job done. 6,200. It's a disrespectful price tag for Adam Schenk.
Makes the cut here.
Yep.
31st, 42nd, 29th.
Yep.
He's cheap. All right, Adam Schenk it is. That's
a good point. Actually, we might have to do some Puerto Rico Open content because I have a sneaky feeling my boy might be in there, Mr. Stanger.
Yeah, people are still asking for the contest as we speak. They're not coming early, and they're not going to be good. That's just the facts.
Oh no, they have to
fill up these. They have to fill up these API ones. And to be honest, I know we didn't pull it up on the screen here, but I'll just do it quickly with you guys because you guys usually like some of that. Your 555 hoop. I know you're looking at different strategy this week with that big heavy irons out there and all that the heavy bank account you got over there, but the same structure, 100, 60, 40, 30. It is so good. When they have that, it's 20% to first. The $25 sand trap is 200K up top. That's only 20%, which while it's still a lottery and pretty disgusting, it's 200, 100, 40, 20. It could be a lot worse. We've seen it a lot worse. The $200 single entry this week is 50K to first, 5K to 6. They played, if you think like a poker tournament, they're playing at like a 6 max where the final table gets the 10% to 6th, but you got to think of it that way. It's not really the best when 10th doesn't have the best payout, but the $5 is out there with 50K up top. It's got 350K total prize pool, so that's not the worst. And then a ton of great tournaments down below. If you go down to the normal, the $12 single entry, D-Gens, baby, the 18 max in the $10 range, that's up to 50K. So it's the 5K to first. So pretty solid. Otherwise, there's lots of good tournaments though this week. And then of course, all the satellites and everything that will come out. You can try and get into the mega par 3 at the Players this upcoming week after the API. That's going to be a great one. That's, I think, a 650 person with 500K to first. They skipped the millie and went 500 with a drop down. It's still a pretty good structure though. And there's lots of satellites that you're going to have that you can see there. And yeah, Billy knows again. Adam Schenk could easily be in the 7K range. He's 6,200. So
yeah, I like that. It's a good statement. Very true.
Good call out on that last week. Do us a favor, guys. Again, if you haven't yet done so, subscribe to the channel. When we get to 6,000 subscribers, we're going to give away a $2.99 annual pass over to the site. We're going to give away the annual where you get projections for DraftKings ownership. That's for Showdown, all 4 rounds. You saw those winners we had over the weekend. Lots of people finding success. If you're not finding success and winning, you can still learn quite a bit that you can take into next week. We do have the full PGA education course that comes with it, the slate plans, the player pools, the course fit rankings from Lee. The value report is free. Everything with Lee, free? No, just the value report, but you can check that out. And then, of course, the Stone Tool. We showed you guys earlier. The Stone Tool is the Stone Nuts when it comes to everything. We've got it for the classic slate, round 2, round 3, and round 4. It gets better as the week goes on. Don't believe me? Just ask Nick in there in the chat and over in the Discord at SHIPIT Nation. Hoop, anything you want to add before we get out of here on this first look?
Yeah, looking forward to keeping this momentum going, not only personally, but within the SHIPIT Nation community. A lot of big wins, a lot of people improving their game, and that's what it's all about over here at SHIPITNation.com. We're there to make you a better player, and for a lot of people, it's worked out quite well. And again, we're just getting started. Looking forward to the future and continuing down this hot path that we're on so far to start the PGA season.
Yeah, you can go over to, remember, the Listener League this week for SHIPIT Nation. There's not a lot of Listener Leagues out there anymore, so make sure you get into this. We bumped it to 1,000. Just go to ToeTagginTambo on X, formerly known as Twitter. You guys can go on there, subscribe, get in, do everything you got to do with that. And then if you want to use code HOOP15 to get in, that gets you an additional 15% off your membership. Grab one of the new logos. Just go to SHIPITNation.com, the 3 dots, go down to logos, put one up. Big contest around the 2 new logos if you guys want to swap to one of those. So thank you guys for watching. We appreciate y'all. We'll be back on Wednesday, Hoop and I together. We got many more shows and content coming before that, but wanted to let you know that. For Hoop, for myself, ToeTagginTambo, let's ship it.